Welcome to Legacy Coins USA. Before you scroll away, imagine this. What if one ordinary-looking Washington quarter in your collection holds an incredible story that collectors have been chasing for decades? In today's episode, we're revealing the top 3 most fascinating Washington quarters, exploring their rich history, rare varieties, mint eras, and the hidden details that make them stand out in the world of coin collecting. Stay with us until the very end, because the final coin may surprise you and completely change the way you look at your own quarters. Let's begin the journey into America's hidden coin treasures. Step 1. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple 1996 D Washington quarter without realizing that you are holding a small piece of American history. Every day, millions of quarters pass through countless hands unnoticed, yet each one carries a story far greater than its 25-cent face value. The 1996 D Washington quarter was created during an important period in modern American coinage, a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to meet the demands of a growing economy while quietly preserving traditions that had existed for generations. Although it appears ordinary at first glance, this quarter represents decades of craftsmanship, national symbolism, and collector fascination. Every inscription, from the proud word liberty to the timeless motto "In God We Trust," reflects values that have remained part of American coinage for generations. Behind its familiar appearance lies a remarkable journey that continues to attract collectors who appreciate not only rare coins, but also the stories hidden within them. Long before the 1996 D Washington quarter entered circulation, its origins could be traced back to one of America's most respected leaders, George Washington. The decision to place Washington's portrait on the quarter was made to honor the nation's first president and the leader who guided the United States through its earliest and most challenging years. His calm expression on the obverse symbolizes integrity, courage, and public service rather than personal glory. Decades after the design was first introduced, the portrait remained one of the most recognizable images in American currency, making the Washington quarter a familiar companion in everyday commerce. By 1996, millions of Americans had grown up using this design, creating a strong emotional connection between the coin and the nation's history. Every 1996 D quarter therefore continued a tradition that stretched back through generations, reminding citizens of the leadership upon which the country was founded. Now picture the busy halls of the Denver Mint during 1996, where powerful presses operated with incredible speed and precision. Thousands of carefully prepared blanks moved through sophisticated machinery every hour, each receiving the portrait of George Washington on one side and the majestic eagle on the reverse. The small D mint mark beneath the date quietly identified the coin's birthplace, distinguishing it from quarters struck at other mint facilities. Despite the enormous production numbers, every coin required remarkable engineering to ensure that its weight, dimensions, and design met exact standards. Skilled technicians constantly monitored the equipment, while engraved dies transferred even the smallest details into the metal under tremendous pressure. This combination of advanced technology and traditional craftsmanship allowed the Denver Mint to produce coins that would circulate across the nation for years while maintaining the high quality expected of United States coinage. As the first newly minted 1996 D quarters entered circulation, they quickly became part of everyday American life. They paid for groceries, newspapers, public transportation, vending machines, and countless daily purchases. Most people viewed them simply as change, never imagining that decades later collectors would carefully examine the very same coins under magnification. Time gradually transformed these ordinary circulation pieces into historical artifacts. Every scratch, every worn edge, and every faded detail became evidence of a journey through thousands of transactions. Meanwhile, a much smaller number escaped heavy circulation altogether. Preserved inside coin albums, mint sets, or private collections, these untouched examples retain their original brilliance and sharp design. As years passed, these carefully protected coins became increasingly desirable because they preserved the appearance intended by the mint when they were first struck. Yet the true fascination of the 1996 D Washington quarter begins when collectors look beyond its ordinary appearance. Not every coin left the mint in exactly the same condition, and not every coin experienced the same journey after entering circulation. Some display unusually sharp strikes where every feather of the eagle and every strand of Washington's hair remain boldly defined. Others reveal fascinating mint errors created during production, including off-center strikes, die cracks, doubled design elements, or other unusual characteristics that make each example unique. These accidental differences transformed an everyday quarter into an exciting field of study for numismatists. Collectors soon realized that patience, careful observation, and knowledge were far more valuable than luck alone. Every 1996 D quarter became an opportunity to discover something unexpected, proving that even one of America's most common circulating coins can hide remarkable stories for those willing to examine it closely. As the years passed, the 1996 D Washington quarter slowly changed from ordinary pocket change into a coin that serious collectors began studying with growing interest. The reason was not simply its age, but the fact that time naturally separated common circulated examples from those that survived in remarkable condition. Every untouched quarter became harder to find because countless coins had already spent years moving through cash registers, vending machines, and everyday transactions. Those fortunate enough to remain protected inside coin albums or original mint sets preserved the brilliant luster, crisp details, and fresh appearance they had on the day they were struck. Collectors understood that these well-preserved examples represented the true beauty of the coin, making them far more desirable than heavily worn pieces. This gradual process of survival reminds us that history itself often creates rarity, rewarding coins that have been carefully protected across generations. Hidden among millions of ordinary 1996 D quarters are fascinating mint errors that continue to excite collectors around the world. During the minting process, even the most advanced machinery could occasionally produce unexpected results. Some quarters were struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the design missing while exposing a blank section of the planchet. Others developed die cracks, creating unusual raised lines across the coin's surface, while a small number displayed double design elements caused by slight movement during striking. There are also examples with clipped planchets or other genuine manufacturing errors that make each piece completely unique. These unusual coins are prized not because they were intentionally created, but because they preserve a rare moment in the mint's production process. Every authentic error tells its own story, turning an ordinary quarter into a fascinating collectible that stands apart from the billions of normal coins produced that year. One of the greatest lessons the 1996 D Washington quarter teaches is that condition can be just as important as rarity. Professional grading specialists carefully examine every coin under magnification, evaluating its strike, original mint luster, surface quality, and the number of contact marks. A quarter that has remained virtually untouched since leaving the mint may receive an exceptionally high grade, while another coin struck from the same dies on the same day could receive a much lower grade simply because it spent years in circulation. These differences play an important role in collector demand because the finest surviving examples become increasingly difficult to replace. For many numismatists, owning a beautifully preserved 1996 D quarter is not simply about value. It is about preserving a perfect example of American coinage exactly as it appeared when first released. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the 1996 D Washington quarter is that it represents the closing years of an important era in United States coin history. Only a few years later, the familiar Eagle reverse would give way to the famous 50-state quarters program, introducing completely new reverse designs that transformed American coin collecting forever. As a result, the 1996 D quarter stands near the end of the classic Washington quarter series that had remained largely unchanged for decades. It therefore serves as a historical bridge between the traditional quarters of the 20th century and the innovative commemorative designs that followed. Collectors appreciate this unique position because it marks the conclusion of one chapter while quietly preparing for another that would inspire millions of new collectors across the nation. As our journey through the history of the 1996 D Washington quarter comes to an end, one truth becomes clear. This coin is far more than 25 cents. It carries the legacy of George Washington, reflects the precision and craftsmanship of the Denver Mint, and preserves a moment in American history just before one of the greatest changes ever made to the quarter-dollar series. While most 1996 D quarters remain common circulation coins, exceptional high-grade examples and genuine mint errors continue to attract collector interest because of their preservation and uniqueness. Whether discovered in an old coin jar, a forgotten family collection, or a carefully organized album, every authentic 1996 D Washington quarter reminds us that history often survives in the smallest everyday objects. Its greatest value lies not only in what collectors may pay for it, but in the remarkable story it continues to tell, a story of tradition, craftsmanship, and the enduring legacy of one of America's most recognizable coins. Step 2. There are moments in history when an ordinary coin quietly becomes extraordinary, not because people recognize its importance immediately, but because time slowly reveals its true story. The 1983 P. Washington quarter is one of those remarkable coins. At first glance, it appears no different from countless other quarters that passed through American hands during the early 1980s. Yet behind its familiar portrait of George Washington lies a fascinating chapter of United States history, mint craftsmanship, and collector interest that continues to grow decades later. Every inscription, from the bold word liberty to the timeless national motto "In God We Trust," reflects traditions that have remained part of American coinage for generations. Although millions of these quarters entered circulation, the passage of time transformed many into worn, everyday change, leaving well-preserved examples increasingly difficult to find. That quiet transformation is what makes the 1983 P. Washington quarter such an intriguing subject for collectors today. Long before the first 1983 P. quarter was struck, the Washington quarter had already earned its place as one of America's most recognizable coins. Introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the design was originally intended as a commemorative issue. Public admiration for the portrait, however, led to its permanent adoption as the nation's quarter dollar. By 1983, this classic design had become part of everyday American life. Children carried it to school cafeterias, commuters used it in parking meters, and families relied on it for countless daily purchases. Few people paused to admire its artistry, yet every coin carried the image of the nation's first president and the enduring values he represented. In this way, the 1983 P. quarter quietly continued a tradition that had already lasted for more than half a century. Imagine stepping inside the Philadelphia Mint during 1983, where thousands of freshly prepared metal blanks moved through powerful coining presses with remarkable precision. The atmosphere combined modern engineering with generations of minting experience, ensuring that every quarter met strict standards before leaving the facility. Unlike earlier decades, when Philadelphia coins often carried no mint mark, the 1983 issue proudly displayed the small p, identifying its birthplace for collectors and historians alike. Skilled technicians carefully monitored the production process, knowing that every engraved detail, from Washington's portrait to the soaring eagle on the reverse, had to appear with remarkable clarity. Within moments, plain metal blanks were transformed into official United States currency, ready to begin journeys that would carry them across the nation through millions of everyday transactions. As the first shipments of 1983 P. quarters entered banks and businesses, they immediately became part of the rhythm of American life. Grocery stores, restaurants, post offices, and vending machines all relied on these newly minted coins. For most citizens, they were simply another quarter used without a second thought. Yet history often hides inside ordinary moments. Every purchase, every exchange, and every year spent in circulation slowly altered these coins. Edges became smoother, surfaces collected tiny marks, and brilliant mint luster gradually disappeared beneath the evidence of daily use. Meanwhile, only a small number escaped heavy circulation by remaining inside original mint sets, private collections, or carefully protected albums. Those surviving pieces would later become especially desirable because they preserved the appearance intended by the mint when the coins were first created. Yet one of the greatest reasons the 1983p Washington quarter fascinates collectors today is not merely its age, but its unusual place within modern coin collecting. During the early 1980s, official United States mint uncirculated sets were not produced for public sale, meaning far fewer pristine examples were preserved compared with many surrounding years. As a result, locating a sharply struck 1983p quarter with outstanding original luster and minimal contact marks became surprisingly difficult over time. This circumstance elevated the importance of high-grade survivors, encouraging collectors to examine seemingly ordinary quarters much more carefully than before. It demonstrated an important lesson repeated throughout numismatic history. Rarity is not always created by low production numbers. Sometimes it is created because too few people recognize the importance of preserving a coin while it is still new. As collectors looked more closely at the 1983p Washington quarter, they discovered that its reverse design carried just as much meaning as the portrait on the front. The majestic eagle with outstretched wings was far more than a decorative image. Throughout American history, the eagle has represented courage, strength, independence, and national confidence. Clutching a bundle of arrows while surrounded by olive branches, the design expressed both the nation's readiness to defend itself and its lasting hope for peace. Above the eagle appeared the proud inscription, United States of America, while EPLUBUSUNUM reminded every citizen of the nation's founding principle, out of many, one. Together, these carefully engraved elements transformed a simple quarter into a lasting symbol of American identity, allowing millions of people to carry a piece of their nation's heritage every day. Hidden within the enormous production of 1983p quarters are fascinating mint errors that continue to attract experienced collectors. Even with advanced machinery and strict quality control, perfection was never guaranteed. Some quarters were struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the design missing while exposing an unstruck area of the planchet. Others developed die cracks that appeared as raised lines across the finished surface, while a small number displayed doubled lettering or design details caused by slight movement during the striking process. There are also examples with clipped planchets and other genuine manufacturing mistakes that make each coin completely unique. These errors were never intentionally produced, making them valuable records of the minting process itself. Every authentic error tells a different story, giving collectors the opportunity to own a one-of-a-kind piece of United States mint history. One of the greatest challenges surrounding the 1983p Washington quarter is finding examples that remain in exceptional condition. Because so many entered heavy circulation immediately after leaving the mint, untouched specimens gradually became much harder to locate than collectors originally expected. Decades of everyday use left most surviving quarters with scratches, worn details, and dull surfaces. Those fortunate enough to escape this fate retain the bright original mint luster and sharp strike that reveal the true beauty of the design. Professional grading services carefully examine every detail under magnification, evaluating the strength of the strike, the quality of the surfaces, and the preservation of the original finish. Only a very small percentage achieve the highest grades, making them especially admired by collectors who seek the finest surviving examples of modern American coinage. Perhaps the most remarkable feature of the 1983p Washington quarter is how it reminds collectors that rarity is often created by survival rather than production alone. Millions of these quarters were struck, yet surprisingly few remain in pristine mint state condition because they were heavily used before anyone realized how difficult high-grade examples would become to find. This unexpected scarcity transformed the coin into one of the most respected modern dates in the Washington Quarter series. It also taught an important lesson to future generations of collectors. Today's ordinary circulating coins may become tomorrow's sought-after treasures if enough examples fail to survive in original condition. The 1983p quarter stands as one of the clearest demonstrations of this fascinating principle in modern United States numismatics. Today, the 1983 P. Washington Quarter continues to inspire collectors because it combines history, craftsmanship, and the excitement of discovery within a single 25-cent coin. Every example carries the legacy of George Washington, the precision of the Philadelphia Mint, and the classic eagle reverse that represented America for decades before the introduction of the state quarters program. While ordinary circulated pieces remain common, exceptional mint state coins, certified high-grade examples, and genuine mint errors continue to receive special attention from collectors around the world. More importantly, the coin reminds us that history often hides in plain sight. An ordinary quarter found in an old collection, a forgotten drawer, or a family keepsake may hold a remarkable story waiting to be uncovered. That possibility keeps the search alive and ensures that the 1983 P. Washington Quarter remains one of the most fascinating modern coins for collectors to study and preserve. It has a remarkable way of changing how we see ordinary objects, and the 1983 P. Washington Quarter proves that lesson better than almost any modern American coin. What was once overlooked as everyday pocket change has become a fascinating chapter in United States numismatic history. Every surviving high-grade example represents decades of careful preservation, while every genuine mint error preserves a unique moment from the production line that can never be repeated. Although most circulated 1983 P quarters remain common, the finest certified specimens and unusual varieties continue to command the greatest attention because they combine rarity, condition, and historical significance. For collectors, the excitement is not simply about finding an old quarter. It is about discovering a coin that has survived time in extraordinary condition. As our journey through the history of the 1983 P. Washington Quarter comes to its conclusion, one truth stands above everything else. Every coin has a story, but only a few continue to inspire generations long after they were minted. This remarkable quarter carries the legacy of George Washington, reflects the craftsmanship of the Philadelphia Mint, and represents the closing years of the classic eagle reverse era before American quarter designs changed forever. Whether preserved inside a professional collection, inherited from a family member, or discovered in an old coin jar, each authentic 1983 P. Washington Quarter serves as a lasting reminder that history often survives in the smallest objects. Its greatest value is not found in its face value, but in the history, artistry, and enduring legacy it continues to preserve for future generations. Step 3. History sometimes hides its greatest stories inside the most ordinary objects, and the 1967 Washington Quarter is a perfect example of that remarkable truth. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than another American quarter, quietly passing from one pocket to another for decades. Yet beneath the familiar portrait of George Washington lies one of the most important turning points in the history of United States coinage. This coin was born during a period of economic change, technological innovation, and national uncertainty, when America was forced to make difficult decisions that would permanently reshape its currency. Every inscription, every carefully engraved detail, and every symbol on the coin reflects an era when the nation balanced tradition with necessity. Today, collectors see the 1967 quarter not merely as 25 cents, but as a surviving witness to one of the most dramatic transformations ever experienced by American money. Long before the first 1967 quarter was struck, silver had been an essential part of everyday American coinage for generations. Dimes, quarters, and half-dollars carried precious metal that gave them both practical value and historical significance. However, by the early 1960s, the rising market price of silver created a serious challenge. People began saving silver coins instead of spending them because the metal itself became increasingly valuable. This widespread hoarding caused shortages across the country, making it difficult for businesses and banks to obtain enough coins for everyday commerce. To solve the growing crisis, the United States government introduced sweeping changes that permanently altered the composition of circulating coinage. The 1967 Washington Quarter emerged directly from this historic transition, representing a completely new chapter in American monetary history. Imagine the atmosphere inside the United States Mint during 1967. Massive presses operated continuously as millions of freshly prepared copper-nickel-clad blanks replaced the traditional silver planchets that Americans had known for decades. Although the appearance of the new quarters closely resembled the earlier silver issues, their internal composition had changed dramatically. Engineers and mint officials worked carefully to ensure that the new coins would function smoothly in vending machines, cash registers, and banking equipment across the nation. Every quarter carried the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the proud American eagle on the reverse, preserving the nation's traditional identity while quietly introducing a modern metallic composition. Most Americans noticed little difference during everyday use, yet historians now recognize the 1967 quarter as one of the most significant products of this revolutionary period in United States coinage. One of the most fascinating mysteries surrounding the 1967 Washington quarter is something many collectors immediately notice. There is no mint mark. Unlike most modern American coins, the 1967 issue does not reveal whether it was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. This unusual decision was entirely intentional. Between 1965 and 1967, the United States Mint temporarily removed mint marks from circulating coins to discourage collectors and speculators from hoarding newly issued pieces based solely on their place of origin. Officials hoped this strategy would encourage coins to remain in circulation and help ease the nationwide shortage. Although the policy lasted only a few years, it created one of the most distinctive periods in American numismatic history, making every 1967 quarter instantly recognizable to knowledgeable collectors. As millions of 1967 quarters entered circulation, they quickly became part of everyday American life. They purchased newspapers, school lunches, bus rides, and countless ordinary necessities without attracting special attention. Yet time gradually transformed these everyday coins into historical artifacts. Most accumulated scratches, worn edges, and faded details after years of constant use, while only a limited number escaped circulation by remaining inside special mint sets or carefully preserved private collections. These untouched survivors retained their original brilliance and sharp design, allowing modern collectors to appreciate the coin exactly as it appeared when it first left the mint. Their preservation demonstrates one of the greatest lessons in numismatics. History rewards not only rarity, but also careful stewardship, turning ordinary coins into treasured reminders of America's changing monetary history. As collectors began studying the 1967 Washington quarter more closely, they discovered that one of its most fascinating features was not found in everyday circulation at all, but inside the beautifully prepared special mint sets, commonly known as SMS coins. During the mid-1960s, the United States Mint temporarily replaced traditional proof sets with these specially manufactured collector issues. Unlike ordinary circulation quarters, SMS examples received greater attention during production, resulting in cleaner surfaces, sharper details, and a distinctive satin-like finish that immediately separated them from heavily circulated pieces. Although they were never intended to be proof coins, their remarkable quality made them highly desirable among collectors. Decades later, exceptional SMS quarters continue to attract attention because they preserve the original beauty of the 1967 design with extraordinary clarity. Turn the coin over, and another remarkable story begins to unfold. The reverse features the powerful American eagle standing proudly with outstretched wings, a symbol that had represented strength, freedom, and national unity on the Washington quarter for decades. In its talons, the eagle firmly grasps arrows, representing the nation's readiness to defend its principles, while olive branches below symbolize the constant desire for peace. Above the design appears United States of America, while the timeless Latin phrase E Plus Unum reminds every observer that many states became one united nation. Every engraved line reflects careful artistic planning, transforming a simple circulating coin into a miniature work of national symbolism that millions of Americans carried every day without realizing the depth of its meaning. Yet hidden among the millions of ordinary 1967 quarters are genuine mint errors that continue to fascinate experienced numismatists. Even with strict quality control, the minting process occasionally produced unexpected results. Some quarters emerged with off-center strikes where part of the design missed the planchet, creating dramatic and highly collectible appearances. Others developed die cracks that produced unusual raised lines across the surface, while a small number displayed doubled lettering or design elements caused by slight movement during striking. Collectors have also discovered clipped planchets and other authentic manufacturing errors that make every affected coin completely unique. Because these pieces document rare moments during production, they remain among the most exciting discoveries for collectors searching through old rolls and inherited collections. Perhaps the greatest lesson taught by the 1967 Washington Quarter is that condition often matters more than age alone. Billions of quarters circulated throughout the United States during the 1960s, but very few survived decades of heavy use without suffering scratches, wear, or dull surfaces. Professional grading services carefully examine every coin under magnification, evaluating the sharpness of the strike, the preservation of the original mint luster, and the overall quality of the surfaces. Only a tiny percentage achieve the highest certified grades, making these exceptional survivors especially admired within the collecting community. Their importance lies not only in rarity, but in the remarkable care that allowed them to remain virtually unchanged since the day they were struck more than half a century ago. Today, the 1967 Washington Quarter stands as one of the most historically significant issues of the modern Washington Quarter series. It represents the era when America successfully adapted its coinage to changing economic realities, introduced copper-nickel-clad composition, temporarily removed mint marks, and replaced proof sets with special mint sets. Every authentic example preserves evidence of these historic decisions, allowing modern collectors to hold an important chapter of American monetary history in the palm of their hand. Whether discovered in everyday change, inherited through family collections, or preserved in original SMS packaging, the 1967 Quarter continues to remind us that even the most familiar coins can carry extraordinary stories waiting to be uncovered by those willing to look beyond their face value. As the decades passed, the 1967 Washington Quarter quietly earned a respected place among modern American collectibles. It is not remembered because every example is rare, but because it represents a unique moment when the United States completely changed the future of its coinage. Every surviving coin tells the story of an era shaped by economic pressure, technological progress, and the determination to keep everyday commerce moving smoothly across the nation. Collectors understand that each original 1967 quarter is a small historical document struck in metal, preserving the decisions that permanently transformed American currency. Those fortunate enough to survive in exceptional condition or as outstanding special mint set examples continue to attract the greatest admiration because they reveal the coin exactly as it appeared when it first left the mint more than half a century ago. Perhaps the most exciting part of collecting the 1967 Washington Quarter is the possibility of discovering something extraordinary where most people see only ordinary change. Hidden inside old family collections, forgotten coin jars, inherited albums, or unopened mint packaging may still rest beautifully preserved examples waiting to be recognized. Some collectors devote years to searching for sharply struck coins with brilliant original luster, while others hope to uncover genuine mint errors that tell a completely different production story. Every discovery reminds us that coin collecting is not simply about financial value. It is about curiosity, patience, and preserving pieces of history that might otherwise be forgotten. That spirit of exploration continues to inspire collectors around the world, ensuring that the 1967 Washington Quarter remains one of the most fascinating modern issues in the Washington Quarter series. As our journey through the remarkable history of the 1967 Washington Quarter comes to its conclusion, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. This coin is far more than 25 cents. It marks the historic transition away from circulating silver quarters, represents the unusual no-mint mark era, preserves the beauty of the classic eagle reverse, and reflects the craftsmanship of the United States Mint during one of the most important periods in its history. While ordinary circulated examples remain common, exceptional special mint set coins, certified high-grade pieces, and genuine mint errors continue to be especially appreciated by collectors because of their rarity, preservation, and historical importance. Every authentic 1967 Washington quarter carries a legacy that extends far beyond its face value, reminding future generations that even the simplest coins can preserve extraordinary chapters of American history. Whether admired for its artistry, studied for its historical significance, or carefully protected inside a collection, this remarkable quarter will always stand as a lasting symbol of change, resilience, and the enduring story of United States coinage.